of ourselves. Gonna try and eliminate that whole, 5 minutes of us being like, what the hell's going on around here with this whole moving into live territory. But hey, how you guys doing? Nobody's here yet. Let's try and kill some time while we get everything shared around.
Yeah, should
Um,
we get on? Is it on Twitter? Did you do that link already as well?
yeah, so it sent out that Twitter link. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna make sure that it's on YouTube and everything. But we should be good to go. This is the best content. This is why we gotta have that little like, have Chase Dreams rapping in the background and everything. Like, um,
We'll get there.
I know we will. I know we will. Oh man. Um, well, we have one person watching, and if you're watching this, I'll try and keep things entertaining as we try and make sure that everything is working the way it should. We are live on YouTube at the moment, and it looks like we do have the one viewer on YouTube with us. Um, Tonight's show is going to be a hodgepodge of last week's show mixed with a normal show where we're going to discuss the Green Bay game that's upcoming. That's kind of what we usually do. But we're also going to be introducing sort of a recurring theme or a recurring segment on the show where we just talk about quarterbacks and what the Vikings' plan is moving forward. And pretty much the little logo down in this way, it's over here because my screen's reversed or whatever. Instead of it being Load the Box, a Minnesota Vikings podcast, this is pretty much Load the Box, the Zach Wilson slash Eric King podcast now, because it's just who we are as people. Looks like we are live on Facebook as well. So everything is going according to plan. Let me get this shared on my Facebook, and then I think we'll start going. All right, Jack.
Perfect. I can share it as well if I can find it again. Because I didn't get the notification for some reason.
All right. I just shared it out. Burped a little bit because I'm an animal. Um,
It as well if I can find.
all right. All right. Here we go. We got one viewer, and we're gonna entertain the hell out of you, whoever you are. Um, and then let me pull up the multi-stream chat so that way if somebody does say something on Facebook, I can see it over here. All right. So, welcome in to Load the Box. I'm your host, Jordan Hawthorne. It only took us 2 minutes this week to get things settled down and ready to go versus the what felt like 17 from last week. Um, I'm really excited to continue moving this show forward. And like I said a couple minutes ago to our single viewer, we're now booming. Millions of people around the world are watching. For some reason, we have a big Asian demographic here at Load the Box, which doesn't make much sense. But no, this is gonna be a shorter show because it's gonna be like what our shows are gonna be. It's gonna be about half an hour, might be a little bit longer, just because we took almost 5 minutes getting ready and everything. But we're gonna talk about the Packers game that's coming up. And we're gonna every week, I think, talk about quarterbacks that we have our eyes on, that sort of how they did, what they looked like. Spoiler alert: Zach Wilson looked good, and Trey Lance didn't play because his season is canceled. But Justin Fields, I know Jack loves Justin Fields. That's his guy. He also looked good. So I don't know when we're going to talk about everything. I think we're just going to start talking and see if something crazy starts happening. So, really quick, want to give a shout out to Chase Dreams, who does the music on the show. You didn't hear the music this week on the live stream, but if you go back and listen to the show in podcast form, you will hear his wonderful, wonderful tones leading you into the show. So Chase Dreams, big shout out to you, man. Still using your music. As well as invite everyone to head on over to twitter.com and give us a follow. Our Twitter handle is at LTB Vikings. One more time, that is at LTB Vikings. Like Load the Box. Damn it, it's over here. Load the Box. And then you can follow Jack on Twitter at Jack_H_day. One more time, Jack_H_day. Follow myself, J Hawthorne16. J Hawthorne, no E, 1-6. All right, we got it out of the way. Jack, how has your week been with no Vikings loss to bring you down?
Well, the Gophers managed to find a way to at least give me the I'm not sure the word I'm looking for, but they were able to give me the reoccurring disappointment that Minnesota sports kind of have held such a high standard of doing so over the years. But like you said, there were a couple quarterbacks that looked really, really good this weekend that I spent more time probably watching them than I did the Gophers because the Gophers game got out of hand in a hurry. But like you said, Justin Fields, I have their stats written down just to bring that up quickly. Justin Fields went 20 for 21, 276 yards, and 2 touchdowns while rushing for 54 yards. And then he had a rushing touchdown as well that was pretty nasty. He laid a pretty sick spin move, and it was pretty sweet. And then Zach Wilson went 19 for 25 for 287 yards and 4 touchdowns going up against Texas State. Obviously, we kind of talked about that last week as well. Zach Wilson's not going up against the greatest competition, but that could hence lead to him being a higher draft pick because he's tearing these teams apart. He's doing it with he's not looking back and he's completely just going out and shredding defenses. And granted, like I said, they're not good defenses, but I mean, we saw Carson Wentz get drafted after playing at NDSU. We saw Josh Allen come out of Wyoming. We've seen guys come out of these smaller schools recently and find some success at the next level. And I think Zach Wilson is going to be that next guy. I know you and myself kind of got into a little bit of a text. It wasn't really much of an argument. We were texting each other about this quarterback class. And I still think Justin Fields is number one on my list. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence would be number one on that list, but I still just don't think the Vikings have a realistic chance at getting Trevor Lawrence. And I think Justin Fields is that next best option. I think Justin Fields would be the clear number one guy if it wasn't for a generational talent like Trevor Lawrence coming out this year. So I think they're both very solid franchise changing quarterbacks that are going to succeed at the next level. So there's games this weekend. I mean, Penn State just lost to Indiana, but that Penn State and Ohio State game was supposed to be pretty good. But with their loss to Indiana, I'd imagine they dropped down the rankings a little bit. And then we got the late game on Saturday as well, where Zach Wilson is playing again. So you're able to watch both of those. Make sure to watch both of those games. I think the Gophers actually play on Friday this week against Maryland, who they're favored by like 20.5, so they should stomp them, which it's Minnesota sports. I can't make any promises, but yeah, it's been a weird week leading up to the Packers. There's been some storylines that aren't really necessarily huge storylines, but Daniil Hunter went through successful surgery, and it sounds like he's going to be good to go for 2021, which is huge as well. Delvin Cook was back at practice today, and Cameron Dancer was placed on the COVID list. So there was a few things that circulated today. Yeah, it's been crazy already, and we're not even to – it was the first week on the injury report. So or first day of the week of the injury report. But
yeah, it's been a wild week, mainly because I don't know why we can't just have a season where things are like we play football, we do good, we win a Super Bowl. I don't know why we can't have that, but this year we're having a really bad year, and on top of that, everybody wants to talk about, hey, what if the Browns sent us a first-round pick for Adam Thielen? Would you do it? What if they sent us a first-round pick and Odell Beckham? Would you do it? And I'm just like, I don't want to think about that right now. I don't want to think about trading Adam Thielen. I'm not even from Minnesota, so I don't have that whole hometown kid, he's the dude, Mankato State, $500 scholarship, should be selling dental equipment. I don't have that attachment to him. I just think he's a damn good wide receiver, and I still don't want to trade him. I think we'll get into that a little bit, but Jack, I don't know if you have the stream pulled up on your phone so you can see the Facebook chat. But
I do not.
There was a Casey Lee going crazy in here for you.
That's my girlfriend's sister.
Got it. Well, she is your biggest fan, and Casey, I'm not Jack. I am not, your sister's boyfriend, but I'll give you the shout out because Jack doesn't have the chat. Unfortunately, I'm the one who initiated the stream, so the chat is over here on my right. So, yeah, I think we should lead off with that really quickly. Also, on the Zach Wilson stat line, he got pulled basically right after halftime because they were blowing out Texas State. And I didn't even know there was a Texas State, if I'm being honest. But he's putting up just obscene numbers for the amount of time he's playing. And he looks just crazy. He's rapidly flying up draft boards. And there's a theory that I have that we'll get into, I think, right after the Thielen stuff, about what's going to happen with the Vikings. But let's see. I'm trying to think here. I'm trying to go through things. Jack, Adam Thielen right now for a first round pick. Would you do it? If not, what's the price? Everybody's got a price. What is it for Adam Thielen, man?
See, it's tough because unlike you, I do have that emotional connection to him, just being a kid from Minnesota. That, I mean, we make jokes about it and it's a cute story we joke about all the time with his scholarship and whatnot, but it's one of the coolest stories in Minnesota Vikings history, in my opinion. I mean, he came from a school that my mom grew up in Mankato, actually. So I grew up going to some of their hockey games with my grandpa. Like, it was a school that I was very close to going to myself. And that probably would have even made it a more or a bigger emotional investment for myself, which I might understand some of you crazy NDSU fans that want to draft Trey Lance a little bit more than myself then, because I would have the feeling of having a football player that went to my school make it at the next level. And I don't really think that's going to happen for the University of Minnesota Duluth. It's much more of a hockey school and Division II football program, but very good Division II football program. So I'm sure they've had guys get their chances at the next level. But I think, having said this, that Adam Thielen is probably going to go down as one of my favorite Vikings of all time. I think every player has a price, no matter how talented they are. And Adam Thielen he's fighting with grandfather time. I mean, he's not super old by any means. I think he just hit 30 this year, but 30 is fairly old for a wide receiver. I think that's normally when a receiver would start to regress a little bit, but we're not seeing that with Adam Thielen yet this year. I mean, I'm pretty sure at least before this week, he was leading the league in receiving touchdowns. That could have changed with the Vikings not playing, but I'm not sure if it did or not.
I believe he's tied now.
But he's playing at a phenomenal level still, and we have to take into account that he didn't play. He was on the practice squad, but he didn't play right away out of college. He has some of those earlier years left still on the back end of his career in the NFL, and it's really hard to part ways with him. But if you can get another first round pick for him, I think you almost have to do it, because, like I said, that emotional investment is there. But I said the same thing with Stephon Diggs. If you can go out and get a first round pick or get a haul of picks for him, why not do it? Stephon Diggs was the better wide receiver out of the two of them. He was the younger wide receiver out of the two of them. So really the only thing that we have left, the only argument that we have left, is that attachment to him, because he's from Minnesota and he's got the cool story. I think as a front office, you have to, especially in a situation like this where the Vikings are struggling so much, you have to be open at trading almost anyone. I had this conversation this weekend, actually. I was saying, I think I would be willing to trade almost every single player on this roster as long as you're older than the age of 25 and your name is not Eric Kendricks. I think you're tradable, quite frankly. And I think I got to stick with that, as hard as it is for me to say. If you can get a similar deal for what you got from Stephon Diggs, and there's people with the Odell Beckham stuff being talked about too. I don't really think that's realistic that we're going to get Odell and an early round pick, but this 2021 wide receiver class is supposed to be just as good, if not better, than last year's receiver class. And we saw how well it worked with the Stephon Diggs trade in getting Justin Jefferson. So I think you have to be open to exploring that if given the opportunity.
You know, I'm going to disagree on this. And really quick, I do want to give a shout out to Kate Bilheimo. Kate, love you. Really glad to see you. And also Chris Land, who I, am a panelist on his show on Friday nights, Felt and Long, on Facebook Live. So Chris, hello to you as well. Just want to shout out the chat. Thank you guys for hanging out and listening to us talk about the Minnesota Fighting Vikings. But I disagree. I think there are some people on this team that are just straight untouchable, because I'm a believer that we are a couple of pieces on defense and a quarterback away from being right back in it. I mean, Dantzler and Gladney next year, we have to assume they are going to progress the way that young players do. They're going to, be shaky their first year, and then they're going to step up a little bit in the second years. And I think we've seen on tape they have the possibility of doing that, or they have the potential of doing that. I think that what scares me, and this is kind of my nightmare scenario. I think we're about to, and we'll talk about this more whenever we start picking, the Green Bay game. I think Cousins is about to go on a revenge tour of sorts, but it's not necessarily revenge. I think Cousins is about to make the case. He's playing for his job, plain and simple. He is playing for his job in Minnesota. There's a lot of money on the line for Cousins if he's bad and we decide to cut him or trade him to a team that, pretty much tells him, like, gun to his head, restructure your contract. Like, I think Cousins is gonna start playing at a high level, and I'm afraid he's going to play at a level that is just high enough to dupe Mike Zimmer and Rick Spielman into not drafting a quarterback in the first round this year. Even if we trade down to try and get a second-round pick with a high top 10 first-round pick, I'm afraid that the Vikings are going to go offensive line or they are going to go defense because I don't think Mike Zimmer's going anywhere. And here's a hot take. I don't think Mike Zimmer should be going anywhere this season. I think we quickly got lost in the me and Jack, we said it this whole offseason. This is it's a scratch year for Mike Zimmer and Rick Spielman. They get a year to be mediocre or bad because they had all of their defense walk out of town. They traded Stephon Diggs because he was unhappy. But I think they kind of need to own up to it that Cousins was bad. And if he plays well enough that we end the season, I think we have 10 games left. We end the season 6-4 and we go 7-9. Are you really going to tell me Rick Spielman's not going to hold a press conference where he says, I'm giving a vote of confidence to Kirk Cousins, and then we draft an offensive tackle at pick 8, and then we go corner in round 2, and then we come back next year and just run the thing over again, and then we come back in 2022, spoiler alert, run the thing over again? This is shaping up to be an insane quarterback class. And I will never root against the Vikings, but I'm just saying, Aaron Rodgers, since he started doing Pat McAfee's show, has grown on me a little bit. And I might be, you know how if you have a guy in fantasy that's playing against the Vikings and he scores a touchdown, you're like, oh no, that's awful. But you kind of know, you're benefiting from it. If we lose out, that benefits us big time. I'm afraid Cousins is going to dupe Spielman. Going back to the Thielen thing, Chris Land in the chat saying the Vikings got lucky with Jefferson. We got to keep the weapons that we have because the defense isn't winning any games, and I agree with you, Chris. I think that we do need Adam Thielen. I think we need a veteran in that locker room. If Thielen was to leave, I believe Chad Beebe would turn into the most experienced veteran on that team, and that's an embarrassment. So I think Thielen stays. I think Thielen retires a Viking, but I kind of thought that about Diggs because of the miracle. So we'll see what happens. But a couple names that are on the trade block, and then we'll kind of get into some Aaron Rodgers and Green Bay talk. I think Anthony Harris is a must trade. I think if it's time, we're not going to pay him. He's not playing at that elite level that he was last season. I think Cleveland is the perfect spot. They're starting Andrew Sendejo. Andrew Sendejo's not that good. Like, we know what Andrew Sendejo is, and so does Cleveland. I've got a buddy that's a Browns fan that, cusses me out every time he sees me about Andrew Sendejo because he doesn't like him. So I think Anthony Harris is the guy we should be trading to Cleveland. Cleveland's offense is going to be just fine without Odell. Harrison Smith is a guy who pops up. Kyle Rudolph is a guy who pops up. I could see them going. Rudolph even especially, but I don't know what team wants to pay Kyle Rudolph the money he makes to be the player that he is, a good blocking tight end. But me and Jack came on this show every week last year and complained about how we were throwing tight end screens to the slowest tight end in the NFL. So there's a lot of names up there, Jack. Is there anybody that I'm missing that you would maybe like to see the Vikings trade, maybe to try and recoup a second-round pick?
I think at the point of the season that we're at right now, I think it would be worth exploring the option. I know he's been very good this year, and it's hard to find talented left tackles, but we just saw a very poor performance out of Ezra Cleveland at that right guard spot. And I mean, people that didn't play offensive line, and I didn't play offensive line growing up, but it seems like it would be an easy transition, but in all reality, it's really not. Like, his footwork is completely flopped, switching to the other side of the line. I mean, the guard position, you're going up against guys that are a lot different. I shouldn't say skill levels, but they're a lot bigger. You're not going up against these massive guys when you're playing. And Ezra Cleveland's not a huge guy himself. He's known for being more of a Brian O'Neill type player, where he's more of an athletic tackle, get him out in space and let him run. And I think I personally would like to see if we could get a pick, even if it's a third, fourth round pick out of Riley Reif, put Ezra Cleveland there, get some experience under his belt, because like you said, I think all eyes should be on 2021 and the future of this team instead of this year. There's no playoffs this year for us. It's unrealistic to expect that sitting at 1-5. So I think you really, as Rick Spielman and Mike Zimmer, I think the Wilfs have put their faith in them and said, hey, you know what, like, this team, it sucks right now, and it does. And I think their faith is in Zimmer and in Spielman, and they're going to give them another draft class. And if they mess up that draft, I think there's a legitimate chance that during next year we could see some sort of their contracts get terminated. I saw one article about, I don't remember where it was from, but it was exploring the option of trading Mike Zimmer, actually, which is kind of an interesting option, which I
Just
don't
John
think
Gruden
is
him, just trade him to.
realistic. But yeah, I think Reif is up towards the top of that list for me, just because I want to see what Ezra Cleveland can do at that left tackle spot. If that draft pick doesn't hit, this could be interesting moving forward if we do get rid of Reif, because if Ezra Cleveland turns into Matt Khalil 2.0, granted he wasn't a 4th or 5th overall pick, but if he turns into a Matt Khalil type player, this franchise is going to be going downward even further, because this offensive line needs all the help that they can get. And I know there's talks of Wyatt Davis in the draft, if we don't go quarterback in that first round, to guard out of Ohio State, that I think could legitimately solidify our offensive line and make our offensive line start striving towards being something great. But Riley Reif has played really well this year, and I think there's a lot of teams out there that are contending that could use help at that tackle position. So he's another guy that I would be exploring right now if I was working in that front office.
Yeah,
But
I know Pat Elflein is a name that there was that, I don't know if you saw, there was an anonymous report from like an NFL GM, like an NFL GM's assistant's daughter's boyfriend or something like that. But it kind of went into like teams were calling the Vikings and they were like, "Hey, we want to make a deal," and the Vikings were like, "Well, here's who we'll trade. Here's our price," and the GM in this anonymous article said something along the lines of like, "Well, we don't want Kyle Rudolph, we want Irv Smith Jr." And the Vikings kind of scoffed and they were like, "Of course you want Irv Smith Jr. We don't want to get rid of Irv Smith Jr." That's kind of what you see bad teams do, is they really want to trade, old people that make a lot of money and kind of, save some cap, build, get ready for a rebuild type deal. And teams that are calling, they want the bright spots on the team. Everybody's going to want Adam Thielen, but it's like, may we interest you in our finest Chad Beebe? Like, it's definitely a situation where
cue a Bill Belichick meme on that one.
Oh, 100%. Chad Beebe could go right now, and Jarrett Stidham and Chad Beebe would be, freaking Tom Brady, Randy Moss somehow. Honestly, I don't know. The Belichick memes might be stopping here in a year or two, Jack. The Patriots don't look too good right now. They just got the doors blown off down up over there. I guess I don't really know where it's at on a map, but in San Francisco.
I should say this for all the Brady haters too. I had this conversation this week a little bit. I think it's a pretty typical conversation, kind of going back and forth. I know this is a Vikings podcast, but Jordan and myself are both Tom Brady lovers, if you didn't know that. And
by the way, that sounds terribly inappropriate. Maybe say fans.
Anyway, we respect what he does, and a lot of people don't like his greatness, and we both declare him the GOAT, is what I was trying to say with that. But I think we're starting to see a little bit that, hey, I know Cam Newton hasn't been the best, and I know their team has like 6 guys on defense on COVID, so it's not really fair to say this, but Tom Brady went down to Tampa Bay, and he has his team in position to win the NFC South. and Bill Belichick does not have his team in playoff contention, if I'm remembering correctly. I don't think they started off hot and they haven't looked great since. So I think we're starting to see a little bit that people used to be like, was it 50-50 Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, or was it 60% Belichick? I think we're starting to see a little bit that Tom Brady deserves a lot more credit than what some people were willing to give him.
Yeah, I saw, and this is the last thing. Then I promise we're gonna get on to the Green Bay game. I saw somebody. I can't remember exactly who it was. I think it was somebody on Fox Sports, um, talking about how maybe it was on the Pat McAfee show. I don't remember where I heard it. They were talking about how Tom Brady in the locker room was such a leader that Belichick could focus on the game plan, and if something was kind of boiling up in the locker room, Tom Brady would quickly put a squash to it because it's Tom Brady. I think they both, you see Matt Patricia go to Detroit and try and be just like Bill Belichick, and nobody respects him because he's not Bill Belichick yet, and you have to kind of own that, right? Well, Tom Brady has the exact same thing, so it's kind of like they have these two elite guys that you just have to listen to because it's Belichick and Brady. So I thought that was a really interesting point. But now let's talk about this Green Bay game, Jack. We're gonna do some game balls. I think we're gonna do some injury report first, and I'll pass that off to you in just a moment. And then of course, we'll talk a little bit about fantasy / gambling. Kate Bilheimer in the chat saying agreed in respect to Brady, but I still think he's a toad. He's a handsome toad. I'll give him that. But yeah, so Jack, run us through the injury report this week. I know you mentioned Dantzler's on the COVID list. That really stinks, but are any of the other DBs on the COVID list? I know that we have our defensive backs are looking pretty thin.
Yeah, we're very thin, and they're not on the COVID list, but they didn't practice today. Holton Hill has a foot injury he did not practice today. Mike Hughes, that lingering neck injury, held him out of practice today. And then limited was Chris Boyd. Delvin Cook was back on the practice field, limited as well. And then Anthony Harris, Drew Samia, Adam Thielen were all full participants. The Packers injury report is a lot more lengthy than the Vikings, and a lot of these guys are limited. But they did have two of their starters, or three of their starters, one being a kicker. Looks like Mason Crosby did not practice today with a left calf / back injury. Aaron Jones did not practice with a calf injury, and Kevin King has a quad injury that kept him out of practice. I'll just kind of go through some of these names here. David Bakhtiari was limited in practice today. Kamal Martin was limited. He had a fairly solid game in his first career game. He's from the University of Minnesota, obviously. Darnell Savage was limited. I cannot talk today. Preston Smith and Zadarius Smith were both limited as well. And Jair Alexander's listed, but he was listed as a full participant. And I'll just kind of get things started here right off the bat. That's kind of the matchup with Jair Alexander. That's the one I'm most excited to watch. I shouldn't say I'm excited to watch Aaron Rodgers. I just think he is going to absolutely light our secondary apart again, especially if we don't have Mike Hughes, Cameron Dantzler, and Holton Hill. Holton Hill, not so much, but that means who's going to be our starters? Jeff Gladney. We're going to see a lot of Harrison Hand as well, which could be exciting because he was a fifth-round pick that we started to see a little bit more of towards the end of last game. But the matchup that I'm most excited for is whatever one of our 1A, 1B wide receivers is being covered by Jair Alexander. That's the matchup I'm going to be tuned into the most because I think Jair Alexander, I think they're starting to notice this. If you watch a Packers game, they bring up the fact that Jair Alexander has been one of the best cornerbacks, one of the best lockdown cornerbacks in the NFL this season. He's really coming on. But we have two wide receivers that have had a little bit of their way. I guess I shouldn't say two because it used to be two and there's a new one now. But Adam Thielen has kind of had his way with Jair Alexander over the last couple of years. But that's still not the matchup. I really want to see Justin Jefferson and Jair Alexander go at it because I think that's the matchup of the NFC North that we're going to be watching for years to come. Justin Jefferson, I think, has the capability of becoming the best wide receiver in the NFC North. I know that's a high task because it's no question Devontae Adams, in my opinion, right now, but he has the potential to reach that level, I think, one day. And going up against Jair Alexander, who's playing at such an elite level, something's going to have to break, and I am excited to see who it is, because we've seen Kirk Cousins struggle as well. If he starts leaving balls behind Jefferson or behind Thielen, I think we're going to see some turnovers on Sunday, and things could get out of hand. But you just got to love the idea of the Vikings going into Lambeau Field, because I love watching games there. I kind of wish, especially this year, because I mean, I think the season's already over. So why not go there in December and get a cool snow game out of it, and let the viewers at home enjoy it from the comforts of their own sofas with the fireplace going. But I think, like I said, I think Rodgers is gonna kind of have his way with these young defensive backs. We don't have Yannick Ngakoue for the first game of the season, so I don't know where that pressure is going to come from. I'm excited to see DJ Wanham potentially get more reps. He's started to work his way on the field a little bit more. He's kind of that, I don't want to say Danielle Hunter 2.0, but that's what a lot of the fan base was looking at him as kind of this younger guy who has all the athletic abilities in the world. He's a physical freak, and Andre Patterson groomed Danielle Hunter. I'm excited to see where he's at in his progression as well. And then switching over to the Packers offense, if Aaron Jones does not go, I know Jamal Williams played fairly well, and they have the rookie as well, that they were kind of a running back tandem last week. But if Aaron Jones goes, even if he doesn't go, I think Jamal Williams has a good chance at absolutely shredding our defense apart. Our defense is just, it's so banged up. You're missing big, heavy hitters up front. You're missing a key player at least each or all three phases of the defense. So I don't like the Vikings' chances sitting at 1-5 going into Lambeau playing a 5-1 Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be pretty, and I don't think I'll spoil it now. I don't think the Vikings come out on top.
Yeah, you know what? Why don't we go ahead and get your score prediction really quick, and then we'll do game balls afterwards. What are you thinking in this game?
I don't think it's going to be as high scoring for both teams as it was in US Bank Stadium. I think it's going to be, I don't even know what the spread is. What are the Packers favored by? Do you know that?
6.5, and that spread has gone down. The Vikings were 7.5 dogs yesterday when I was building some bets, and it's went down to 6.5, which means money's coming in on them. And I don't know what gamblers are seeing, but they're wrong. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I don't know what they're seeing either, unless they're expecting this to be one of the Kirk Cousins Fire Eyes games where he just gets pissed off, and we see the you like that version of him, and he throws for 410 yards and 5 touchdowns somehow. But I don't think I see that. Delvin Cook coming back is going to make a difference as well. He was limited today, and I think Zimmer said in his press conference that he expects him to go, and I think we're going to see the Vikings really try and really this week try and run the ball into the ground after Kirk threw that pick on the first play 2 weeks ago against Atlanta. I think after the game, Zimmer said essentially we're not going to come out and be aggressive like that ever again, which kind of bothers me because I don't, it wasn't like that extent, but that play was brought up in his press conference, and he said something. He's like, it pissed Zimmer off. So I would expect a handoff on the first play. I would be absolutely shocked if Delvin Cook plays, if he does not get the ball on the first play of the game or the first offensive play for the Vikings.
But wouldn't you poop your pants if they did a play action and they max protection, Thielen and Jefferson go deep, and we hit a touchdown first play of the game?
I mean, I would love that. I wouldn't be upset. I don't see that happening, at least in the near future after what happened. That was, like I said in my game recap after that one, that was just an embarrassing game to watch. And frankly, I like the Packers to cover in this 6.5. That means they win by a touchdown. I think they win by a touchdown. Final score prediction, give me a 31-20 Packers win.
Yeah, so you're actually very close to kind of what I was thinking with this game. I was thinking about putting the Packers in like this type of bet where pretty much the odds go up a lot so I can win a lot more money, but I have to give the Packers like 6 more points. So they have to beat us by at least like 12.5. And I was thinking about taking it, but I had this feeling during the Seattle game, or during the Seattle, like the week leading into it, in my stomach, where I was like, this team is desperate. They're fighting for their lives. Some of them are fighting for their jobs. Like, I think this is a week where we come out and we look really good. And I think Seattle has weaknesses and blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. I'll get to the point. I have that same feeling, and I have had it all week. And it's just been building in my stomach, and I can't get it off my brain that I think Cousins is about to go off. Tessa Lindbergh says, hello, Jack.
Hi, Tessa.
um, but like it's just been this feeling of like the Vikings. I know the Packers are too, but the Vikings are off a bye. Zimmo is a pretty decent head coach coming off the bye. I know that he's getting a lot of flack, but I still think he is a solid head coach. I just think we should be looking more offensively in today's day and age. But whatever. There's just this feeling in my gut, and then I realized it was indigestion. I think the Packers are gonna beat us by probably 15, and it might be worse than that. It might be another. We are getting blown out all game long. They start playing prevent defense. Cousins puts up, 200 yards passing in the final 7 minutes of the game, just padding those stats. And when you look back on it in 5 years, you say Cousins looked all right. But I could see it going both ways. Maybe I want this to happen. I think this is the nail in the coffin for Cousins. I think Cousins throws two or three interceptions in this game. And I think it looks bad. I would like to see Justin Jefferson still shine in this game, but I'm going to go ahead and say Packers 38. You know what? Let's just say we get 38-7 again. Let's just go ahead. That's the final score. It's 38-7. We'll just, really relive all the bad memories that we've had. So, that's kind of what I'm leaning. I do think the Packers cover that 6.5. Go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think they cover, and I think things are going to get weirder or worse, or whatever word you want to use to describe it. Things are going to get worse before they get better. I've been saying that for the last couple of weeks. And now the Vikings, if they get to 1-6 after losing to Green Bay, they have the Detroit Lions coming to US Bank Stadium, I believe, a new and revamped Detroit Lions team that's going to have Adrian Peterson coming for a 100-yard game. Well, we have Everson Griffin chasing after Kirk Cousins, and I think that's going to play an emotional toll. Oh, not to mention Jaron Kearse might be playing safety for him, who has had some Vikings drama in his life on Twitter over the last couple days.
Are you forgetting who's toting the ball for him, too, going up again? Do you think Adrian Peterson gets a career high in rushes against the Vikings just so Detroit can prove something?
Yeah, I would not be shocked if that happened. I actually tweeted about it, and someone, I can't remember the name, so I apologize if you're listening, but he tweeted, he said over under, I think 100 yards for AP, and over under, it was either 1 or 2 sacks for Everson. And watching all of those it's not so much Jaron Kearse, but Adrian Peterson and Everson Griffin were kind of that phase in our lifetime where we're still kind of growing up, and this team meant so much to us, and it still does, obviously. But Everson Griffin was that spiritual leader that we had for a decade, I believe. And then obviously Adrian Peterson, I was at the game where he ran for 296 in the Dome, and he has done some special things, and he's a first ballot Hall of Famer for sure. These are both 100%, in my opinion, going to go up in the Ring of Honor up here at US Bank Stadium. So it's going to be, not only is the Vikings schedule, or not only are the Vikings losing and having a rough season, but we're going to have to be going up against some familiar faces. And then a couple more weeks down the road, not to mention we're going to have Teddy Bridgewater come to US Bank Stadium. And I'll just leave it at that, because I don't want to break Vikings Twitter talking about all the old Vikings that are going to come to US Bank Stadium and beat us in front of no fans as of now, obviously.
Hey, like 200 people are there. Everybody gets their mom and dad and a brother and a sister, or whatever the rules are. But Robert Roddy, which is a very close name to Robbie Rotten from, like all the memes. But Robert Roddy says he agrees with us. No pass rush, no proven defensive backs. Rodgers is going to have all the time to pick the Vikings apart. Only chance the Vikings have is to make it hashtag Irv Smith season for the rest of the year. 100%.
He's one of my buddies, and he's a huge Irv Smith advocate with us. So also a huge Teddy Bridgewater advocate as well.
Teddy Bridgewater's a bastard, all right? And he broke my heart the day that he broke his leg, and I'll never forgive him for going to the Saints and starting that stupid bicycle dance. But godly, it helps. It helps that the Vikings are this bad, man. Let's go ahead. Do you want to talk about a little bit of fantasy?
Yeah, we can. I haven't looked too much into it this week, but
I can tell you that I don't trust Delvin Cook this week. coming off of the injury, and also I don't know how much running the Vikings are going to be able to do because I do see us trailing big early in this game. This could come back and bite me. This could end up being like hashtag freezing cold take or whatever, where it's like Cook goes off for 306 touchdowns. But I don't think this is a game where Cook has a great day. You got to remember the Packers are coming off a bye week, and they just got absolutely smacked in the mouth by Tampa Bay. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to be too happy, and I think he's going to be coming in to a bad Minnesota team with a bad secondary and no pass rush, and he's going to be looking to make a statement. Robert Roddy says Gump. I would assume that's an inside joke that you guys have.
No, it's a Teddy Bridgewater thing that Teddy would always write on. I think he wrote it on his gloves potentially.
Huh.
It's good under major pressure. It was a
Got
Teddy
it.
that he brought with him to Minnesota.
And Amy Lamont asks if we have to hear about how good my manhood smells again. Amy, not yet. We'll get there, but not quite yet. The promo code is, damn it, up. It's right there. Save 20% using code LOADTHEBOX. We'll get into that in just a second, though. Yeah, I don't trust Delvin Cook in this game. Jack, who do you like? Who do you hate in this game? And then we'll do game balls and get out of here.
The front runner is the guy who just won me a little bit of money in DraftKings, not a lot, but Devontae Adams, I think, is going to have a field day with these corners. I don't think we have anyone that's going to be able to stop him. And I think I'm really intrigued about the wide receiver position because it seems like even with Jair Alexander, it seems like there's always at least one of these wide receivers on the Vikings that's going to go off. I think they're going to get down early. They're going to have to throw the ball. So I don't know if it's going to be Jefferson or Thielen. I want to say Thielen just because he has the capability, and Jefferson does too, but I think we've seen Thielen in the end zone more this year, and we've seen Thielen do damage against Jair Alexander. But like I said, that matchup, if we see Jair Alexander on Justin Jefferson, that's going to be the matchup of the day, I think. Just the most intriguing matchup of the day, at least. But kind of going outside the NFL, a couple players, or I don't know how I should say that. Derek Carr against Cleveland as the quarterback that I like this weekend. And I think in a DraftKings type platform, we were picking people, you could stack him with a Darren Waller and bring that back with the Kareem Hunt stack. And I think Derek Carr is just his value. He's super cheap, and we've seen these shootouts with Cleveland. Joe Burrow, we haven't really talked about him since I don't even know when we talked about Joe Burrow last, but he looks really good. These rookie quarterbacks, there's people all over. I'm sorry, I'm going off on a tangent. And if you've listened to the show for the last couple of years, you should know that by now that we do that. But these quarterbacks, we haven't even seen really Tua yet, but I'm excited to see him get his chance. Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow have looked phenomenal. And there's people out there that say, you know what, how many first overall picks have won the Super Bowl? And it's like, I don't care about that. I don't think you can risk losing out on a generational talent at the quarterback position specifically just because of what's happened in the past. You're seeing a guy like Justin Herbert come on the scene. You're seeing Joe Burrow with realistically an offensive line that's maybe just as bad, if not worse, than the Vikings, and he's doing great things. The NFL, I just see that's the direction the NFL is going, and all these young quarterbacks are going to take over, and it's going to be weird when the Tom Brady's, Aaron Rodgers, Phillip Rivers, and I don't know if I said Drew Brees already, but when Ben Roethlisberger, when those quarterbacks are gone, that's kind of the last little bit of our childhood that we have left in the NFL, and it's going to be a completely new era of quarterbacks. So the people that are saying they don't want the Vikings to draft a quarterback just because of something that has happened in the past, because, hey, well, Andrew Luck didn't win a Super Bowl. I would take Andrew Luck on this team immediately right now if I could, if I had the option of doing so.
Yep.
You don't replace. I mean, you just can't risk missing out on talented guys. And the Vikings haven't had their luck at drafting quarterbacks. Obviously, Christian Ponder, we still don't really know with Teddy Bridgewater. He's finding some success in Carolina. But that shouldn't negate the fact that they need to go out and they need to draft a quarterback. And I've been an advocate for Kirk Cousins for the last 2 years. I'm starting to say, you know what? It's time to move on from Kirk Cousins. And I was saying it last year. We were saying this last year, even when Kirk Cousins was having the best statistical season of his career. We were saying we need to draft a quarterback because Sean Mannion's not the answer. If Kirk Cousins ever starts to fall off or if he gets hurt, Sean Mannion is frankly, he's a worse version of Kirk Cousins. and you need to get a younger guy in there. Instead of drafting Nate Stanley in the 7th round, use a 2nd or 3rd round pick on a guy like Hurts. Trade up, be aggressive. We need to address that position. I don't care if Kirk turns around and somehow hits 5,000 yards this year with like 35, 40 touchdowns, which is super unrealistic. I don't care. Go out and draft a quarterback because there's a lot of talent this year. If it's Zach Wilson and you trade back into the 1st round to get him, do something. You have to be aggressive and you have to get that position solidified moving forward.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. Only thing that I will differ from you on is it took me like 3 games to be like, all right, Cousins is a rat bastard, get him out of town immediately, and then he won a playoff game last year, and I was like, all right, he's fine, he's decent, we should still draft. The fact that the Vikings did not end up with Jake Fromm blows my mind, and it really makes me think, like, Cousins has some very exposing pictures of Rick Spielman and Mike Zimmer, like, maybe, Chunky Duncan in a hot tub or something, because it's, how do you not draft a quarterback? I don't care that Cousins won a playoff game. You know what he is. I don't know. We won't get into it. We won't. That's why we have the quarterback shows. Cousins will throw 6 picks this weekend, and we'll do another quarterback special on De'Aaron King and Kyle Trask and a couple guys that, we didn't get into too much last week. By the way, if I was putting money on it right now, Vikings are going to end up with Trey Lance. I think Zach Wilson plays himself above Trey Lance. Trey Lance drops to the 4th quarterback taken, and I think the Vikings end up with him, and he wins us many Lombardi trophies. But, yeah, you ready to get into game balls?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's do it. This is the last segment on the show, and then we're going to get out of here. If you've been watching us, thank you so much for taking a little bit of time out of your night to watch us live. Show will go up tomorrow morning on anywhere that you listen to a podcast. If you missed any of the show and you want to listen back, of course, the stream is up on YouTube. You'll be able to watch it there, back at the Load the Box YouTube channel. Also, make sure to drop a subscribe, drop a like, comment, do all of that stuff. I actually enjoy, having this little talk with everybody. I think it's pretty cool. So yeah, just thank you if you've listened. But now on to the game balls, sponsored and powered by Manscaped, because here at Load the Box, there is no greater compliment than receiving a preemptive or a post-game game ball. And, in life, I can't, there's a couple that maybe like, you have a good mustache, maybe that's a good one. I can't think of any compliments better than, your balls smell good. So, make sure that, you go over to Manscaped, you use the code Load the Box. By the way, Amy Lamont, there you go. There's the Jordan's manhood smells good. There it is. She's talking in the comments about it. Go over to Manscaped, use the code Load the Box. It's right here up in the top. You'll save 20% off your order when you use that code. One more time, Load the Box. It's all pushed together. It's squished together, real nice like that. And then you can also use the code Manscaped Pod, and that'll get you an additional little discount. You'll get free shipping. So Load the Box gets you 20% off. Manscaped Pod gets you free shipping. Christmas is, I know, people like that it's almost Halloween. Everyone's getting ready to throw on their costumes and go trick-or-treating or go to party, do whatever. Christmas is coming. It's coming up fast. Stock up on your Manscaped products now. I'm just saying the lawnmower 3.0 or 2.0. I got it sitting in my bathroom on its charging station right now. Thing's very nice, and I'm telling you, could not nick you if you tried. Like the thing is just, I think it's silky smooth, and I love it. And they've got some other great products too. Jack, anything you want to add about the amazing guys over at Manscaped?
Yeah, just make sure you go check them out. There's like products in there, like smaller things as well. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Just go look at their website, because I promise you will find something that interests you. Like Jordan said, it does not nick you. The lawnmower is an amazing accessory that I personally believe every single guy should have in their DOP kit. Check them out. Use the code. Get 20% off. Simple as that.
Also, point that Jack brought up, I believe, last week. We don't swear on this show. I almost got it confused with the Friday night program. The thing is waterproof. You can take it in the shower with you. You can hack away. And look, I know that Manscaped is like, they're kind of known for shaving like pubic hair, stuff like that. you can, if you need a good face razor, it works on faces too. Like, I wouldn't recommend using it for both, but pick one and stick with it. Right, get two of them and make sure that you label them very clearly so you don't get them mixed up. But one more time, that code is load the box. And Joshua Dalton Hawthorne has entered the chat. The lesser of the two Hawthorne brothers, the better, of course, being myself. Jack, it's been 2 weeks, and I always suck at remembering. Do you have offense, me defense, or me off? How's it working?
I'll do defense if you want to do offense, because I have one on defense that I haven't picked this year, and I guess I might have given him a game ball, but you go ahead with offense, and I can do defense this week.
So I know I said Cousins might throw 2 or 3 interceptions in this game and kind of spike down and kind of put the final nail into his coffin as a Viking. He's not getting my game ball. I do think this is a game where Justin Jefferson can really set up next year's Green Bay game to be a really interesting matchup. He's a very fiery competitor. You can tell, I mean, he scores his touchdown and he does his little goodie and he starts throwing his little circles up like that or whatever. And, he's doing his thing. He's dancing. Jair Alexander is a smack talker. Justin Jefferson, I think today was quoted saying, like, I think I can beat the best corner in the NFL, like talking about how, he's ready to take on these big challenges. So give me Justin Jefferson getting my game ball. Even in a bad game from Cousins, I think Jefferson does shine a little bit. And he reminds Vikings fans that he is far and away the best rookie wide receiver in this class so far. PFF has him like 16 or 17 points higher than any other rookie wide receiver, and I believe he's the highest rated rookie, period, including the quarterbacks that have looked pretty good, like Justin Herbert and Joseph Burrow. So give me Justin Jefferson getting my offensive game ball. Jack, who you going with on the defensive side? I know it's tough.
Yeah, it is tough because there's the injuries are there. Cameron Dancers, I don't know. It's been kind of weird with this COVID stuff. I feel like there's been some times where a player is on the list and all of a sudden they're playing, and I don't think that's going to happen. They did say actually that it's more because it was the bye week. I think I saw a report from one of the beat reporters for the Vikings essentially saying that it was the bye week and there was family in town, so it's more of a he might have been around it thing than him actually having a positive test. So I don't think I'm ready to rule Cameron Dancer out quite yet, but it's definitely something worth monitoring. Having said that, I don't think anybody in the secondary is going to get the game ball. I mean, you could go for an Eric Kendricks type day, but I'm going to stick with someone who I just talked about a little bit earlier. We just saw Yannick Ngakoue get departed. So I'm going to stick with, believe it or not, someone on the defensive line is going to get this game ball, whether that be they get one sack or they get a strip sack. If they get after Aaron Rodgers once, I'm going to be pretty happy about it just because the lack of pass rush, it's there. Danielle Hunter had successful neck surgery, but looking forward to 2021. A lot of pieces are going to be coming back for that 2021 season. So there's not much to do other than look forward. And this guy is going to allow you to look forward for not just next year, but for many years to come. I'm giving my game ball. I don't love this, but he's probably one of the players I'm most excited to watch in this game. I'm going to go ahead and give it to DJ Wanham because I'm so excited to see the tools that he brings to the table. Yannick Ngakoue is gone. Danielle Hunter's out. And I was partially ready to go to Ifeadi Odenigbo too because I would love to see his sword celebration that he does when he sacks. I would love to see that on Aaron Rodgers. But I do think that DJ Wanham has a ton of talent. He's been working with Andre Patterson. Believe it or not, we're getting close to that halfway point of the season, which is absolutely absurd that we're already here. Believe it or not, we're going to be talking about the draft here in a couple months already. So I guess we already did a show last week.
I was about to say, Jack, we might be doing a mock draft next week for the show.
That's true. That's true. But anyways, yeah, I'm going to give it to DJ Wanham. Super athletic, similar, drew some comparisons to Danielle Hunter coming out of South Carolina. I think the talent levels are there. We saw Danielle Hunter start to come on as well as a younger player. And I don't know, I'm just excited. There's not a lot of things to look forward to in this game because like you said, I think the Vikings are they're going to get beat pretty badly in my opinion. And I'll eat my words if I'm wrong, but I just think DJ Wanham is a player that's easy. He's going to be easy to focus on. If he gets in that backfield and he gets a sack on Aaron Rodgers, I just think there's a lot of bright spots. And I said optimistic Jack was gone, and he is pretty much gone for
He's
this year.
dead.
The Gophers are also ruining that. The Twins ruined that for me. My fantasy teams have ruined that for me. I mean, every Minnesota sports team this year has done some sort of damage to me, both physically and emotionally. I'm mainly kidding about that, mainly. But no, DJ Wanham is a bright spot that I think you can look forward to. There's a lot of young guys. There's a lot of people coming back next year as well. So I'm going to have a little bit of optimism left inside of me, at least, because I think there are plenty of pieces for this team to build around moving forward. So the long rant is over. I'm giving my game ball to DJ Wanham, and I think I'll say it right now, he's going to get at least one sack on Aaron Rodgers on Sunday.
I like it, man. That's almost a bold prediction with him, being so young, and he really is. There's a reason he was drafted in the mid rounds, like Daniil Hunter. If physically, he's got the gifts. He just didn't have the production, and he probably, didn't have the technique. But coming to the Vikings, were known for, creating these pass rushers out of, mid to late round guys, even undrafted. So I think that's a hell of a pick. If he gets a sack on Sunday, I'm gonna be very happy for him. Another guy I'd like to see get a little bit more playing time is the defensive tackle out of Baylor, James Lynch.
Agreed.
I think he looks really good. Okay, so he doesn't look really good. I haven't went through and done a film breakdown of James Lynch, but he's just this kind of pass rushing defensive tackle, and I think early in the game, the Vikings, especially if Aaron Jones is out, I think the Vikings need to put faux pass rushers in that game and say, we need to stop Aaron Rodgers, probably bring some pressure, and tell defensive backs, jump everything. And if we get beat over the top, we get beat over the top. But I think you got to make Rodgers get rid of it quick, and when he gets rid of it quick, I think we need to try and force a couple turnovers. I think that's the route to success. But hey, there is a bright spot to all of this. We are not the Jets. We are not the Bengals from last year. I don't think we are going, and that's not a shot to the Bengals for any Cincinnati fans that, may listen to this and want to chop my head off. But we can, I think, get a new quarterback, get a couple pieces on defense, get Michael Pierce and Daniil Hunter back, and all of a sudden, boom, bam, we win the division next season. That's a very real possibility. I don't think anybody in their right mind would say the Jets have a shot at winning that division next year. With the way the Bills look, the Dolphins look, the Patriots will probably bounce back eventually. The Jets don't have a good shot of winning that division. Thomas Swank, love you too, man. I think the Vikings have a legitimate shot to win the division, and that's kind of my little rant. Optimistic Jordan emerging from the shadows to bring a little hope, because Jack, you used to do it, but optimistic Jack, he died in a fiery accident it was a bus crash, and that bus was driven by Cousins, and the airbags were installed by Tanner Morgan, and both of them just ripped his heart out. And he's dead now. He's dead. I'm sorry to say it. It's pessimistic Jack now. It's like his evil twin brother. But Jack, it's kind of funny. It's like, we make all these jokes about you being pessimistic now. Jack, go ahead. I'm done for the night. Go ahead and give us this optimistic, life is great speech now to lead us out of the show.
Yeah, make sure you follow the show on Twitter at LTB Vikings. If you want to follow Jordan or myself, rewind back to the beginning of the show. I'm just more worried about LTB Vikings. Give us a follow there, because we're always looking to reach a new audience of people that want to interact and just talk football, whether that's Vikings, college football, betting, anything. Reach out to us. We're always more than willing. We'll try to respond. We'll do our best to respond, but we're both busy throughout our days. But the only real message I have for this is we just have to enjoy this game. I don't think it's going to be a very pretty game for Minnesota Vikings fans. Just enjoy it. We're going to Lambeau. Lambeau is so historic. I still have not been to a game at Lambeau Field. That's definitely towards the top of my bucket list. But it's a fun place to play. Aaron Rodgers is what he is. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer that I think is going to absolutely shred our defense apart. So just take it with a grain of salt. I think, like what we both said, there's a lot of stuff to be optimistic for moving forward to that 2021 season. There's a lot of young talent. The Vikings had 15 draft picks this year, and they're set to have another 11 or 12 draft picks next year as well. So there's going to be a lot of young talent. We still might see some trades happen here before the trade deadline. I wouldn't be shocked if I had an alert in my mind. I've been more shocked that I've woken up the last 2 days and not had a notification saying the Vikings traded so-and-so. I think it's definitely worth keeping your phones on or your notifications on for Vikings news, because I think stuff could be coming down the road over the next couple of days. But other than that, my message for this game is just try your best to enjoy it. I think it's going to be pretty ugly. We're already pretty much out of the playoffs, and if we were to somehow get into the playoffs, I don't see this team really competing with any of the NFC teams that are going to make the playoffs unless they somehow squeaked in and were able to play against an NFC East team, because I think any team in the NFL could beat any team from the NFC East. But having said that, most importantly, Skol as always.